So I'm here to take you on a learning journey with me. The Barefoot College was started 40 years ago in the deserts of Rajasthan. It is a place where words like inclusion, equality, social justice are not just words, they're a way of life. We have been championing ideas of capacity building within the rural poor community living on less than $1 a day in areas like women's empowerment, revaluing indigenous knowledge and wisdom, and helping communities to become self-sufficient through solutions in water, solar electrification, education, and livelihood development. We champion a philosophy of development that puts the control for people's development in their hands. We believe in the endless potential and the much overlooked potential of the rural poor. We don't tolerate any ideas about barriers to learning or to accessing information. Certainly not gender, certainly not age, certainly not literacy, most importantly. The college was built and is the only college built by and for the rural poor. It's founded on the philosophy and teachings of Mahatma Ghandi. Central to that is a belief that we must live simply so that others may simply live. It believes that we have a responsibility to develop the capacity of ourselves before looking to the outside for help. So it's a bit of a barefoot revolution that we've created in Rajasthan. And it is a revolution in a different sense, not in the sense of anarchy, but in the sense of a different kind of perspective on development and on the capability of the people who actually can move that progress forward. Alvin Toffler, in his book Future Shock, writes, "The illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read and write. It will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." We do a lot of unlearning and relearning at Barefoot College. So my day starts often 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, thanks to a series of iPhone apps that keep me knowing what time and in what country I am and what time I need to wake up. It's then usually followed by a 5 or 6 hour four-wheel drive over rocky or no roads, flooded riverbeds, and a variety of difficult terrain. And then generally, I get to experience some form of traditional transport in a wide variety of countries. Traditional handmade boats in Cambodia, and this one of my favorites, an hour and a half in a wood-wheeled ox cart. I can tell you was not particularly comfortable, all to arrive to a non-electrified rural village where people have no hope of having electrification, so that I can spend the day learning with them about what their challenges are, about how they plan to address those challenges, about what are the tools that they would like to have to be able to address those challenges. I spend a lot of time listening and learning, not pushing ideas on them, but actually trying to really connect with what it is they feel they need. So in my world, this is a well for 600 people in a village. This is the sole water source in this village, and that well is only full 2 months of the year. The rest of the time, it's like this. They told me that last year 20 children died of waterborne disease, a month after the well was very, very low. When they're not able to get water from this, they need to walk 5 miles to the nearest stream carrying water. The women in the village told me they estimate they spend 30% of their day just gathering water for their families. This is a typical kitchen where I visit, and this a house for 6 to 8 people. This a house for 10 people in 2 rooms. This a bathroom. And this, sadly, a babysitter. The faces of courage, bravery, and determination change little in the developing world. People always ask me, are there huge differences between all these countries and all these different people, and you meet so many different cultures and interact with so many different, that people must be different. But actually, that's not true. The essentials of the human situation and our human essentials are homogeneous, not as diverse as we would imagine. The challenges facing the rural poor across the world are tragically similar, and the underutilization of women as agents for successful and sustainable change in the developing world, sadly, always consistent. So 50% of the world lives on $2.50 a day. How many of you know that? For every one of you, there's one other who lives on less than $2.50 a day. And in fact, 30% of the world lives on less than $1.25 a day. 50% of the people on the globe at any one time do not have access to clean drinking water. There are 1.6 million people without access to electricity. Seems almost impossible for us to believe in the developed world. This is what lighting looks like in Africa. Can you imagine to deliver a baby to that? For a child to try to do their homework to that? For somebody to try to read a piece of essential information to that? This is what it looks like in the Pacific Islands. It's even worse. This in Central and South America, this in Southeast Asia. In the developing world, families spend more money on lighting with toxic kerosene and expensive kerosene than they do on food, education, or health. Interestingly, 80 cents of every dollar that a woman earns in the developing world, she returns to her family, and we know that most of that is spent on education. Men return only 40 cents on a dollar. It's pretty clear to us that women are the right place to invest, where we're going to get our return on investment in the developing world. Women make change happen in the developing world. They make change happen for their family, for their community, for their country. They are dedicated to their family and their community in a way that men are not. Men in the developing world are transient and restless. They earn a certificate, they run to a city to try to get another job, and we generally at Barefoot College believe men are somehow untrainable. But access to learning for women and girls, the poorest women and girls in the world, is completely inaccessible. We haven't done enough to innovate solutions for women and girls to be able to access learning either informally or formally. We have a long way to go. At Barefoot College, we came up with a solution to this, because in Rajasthan, girls need to herd goats and cows during the day, or they have to watch younger siblings, or they need to spend their time with their families doing chores at home. They are rarely allowed to attend school because in most cases, a son will be allowed to go to the state school, but not the daughters. So we developed a system of night schools. We currently have 7,000 children in 150 night schools in 4 states in India, attending school 6 nights a week, 4 hours an evening, for 10 months of the year. It is a fascinating program. It is issue-based, place-based, and academic. Issue-based how? Because we talk about and we integrate things like child marriage, things like domestic violence, and health issues into the curriculum. It's academic in the standard way for the skills that rural village children need to have. And it's place-based because we teach them the skills they need for citizenship in a village, transparency in decision-making, how to have elections, how to vote, how to be transparent about decisions that are taken in the village, so that village life becomes a viable and interesting thing, and we don't necessarily default to migration to cities. We have some extraordinary teachers who teach in this program, and I can tell you that every time I go to the night schools, I am forever amazed at the complexity and the detail of the lessons. We have in so many cases failed to protect our girl children. We must look at alternative ways, totally out of the box ways that are yet to be decided that will impact the lives of girls and give them the skills they need to move on. We started to train women to make solar cookers, precision solar cookers, so that the use of charcoal and wood in villages would be reduced. This happens to be a livelihood. We sell these to other places around India. We started a sanitary pad napkin making unit, which is a conduit to teaching women entrepreneurial skills and other types of enterprise skills. while they make these. We now have these through Africa. We are shipping them to the Pacific, and we do them in India. But it wasn't enough. Wasn't enough for a real revolution. And we wanted a real revolution, a revolution in how people looked at and challenged barriers to learning. Six years ago, we started the Women Barefoot Solar Engineering Project. We take women from the poorest of the poor, most remote regions of the world, grandmothers, in fact. Oh, and they need to be illiterate. They can't know how to read or write, or we don't take them. And we bring them to India. These are women who've never left their village. We bring them to India for 6 months, and we train them to be fully functioning solar engineers who go home to install solar electricity into their villages and become professionals in their villages. Can you imagine a woman from Burundi who's lived through 3 armed conflicts, who doesn't have one single living male relative, who has been attacked and violated, who put her hand in the air to say, I will go. Their determination to augment the quality of life for their villages and for their children, most particularly, overcomes all fear, somehow pushes them to get on an airplane, to leave a village that they've never left before, and to go to a place they've never been before, and to trust me, who just spent the day in their village talking to them. Imagine a grandmother of 8, mother of 6, never been out of her country before, and she puts her hand in the air with little to no idea of where she's coming or what she's going to be doing. Guts, extraordinary guts. That kind of risk is where systemic change is born. Gandhi had a very central belief. He said, if I have the belief I can do it, I will surely acquire the capacity to do it.
Morning class. So 3 parts of solar system. One is photovoltaic solar module. Solar.
ليش بدك تكتبي الحال؟ اسرعي على اللوحة وتكتبي.
Half an hour complete. Colombia. أنا خلصت. Fast. Yes. Testing.
Those are my ladies. The transformation that takes place is profound. Imagine having never been told you're capable of anything except to have babies, get married, plow a field, and cook and clean. To suddenly have access to technology and to be in control of that technology and to have acquired that competence and confidence, you are never the same again. Try telling her she can't do something now in a village. There's no way. Nobody's going to tell her she can't do something. So in 2008, our programming looked like this. We had programming in 5 countries in the world. And as of this year, we have programming in 52. That is a hell of a scale up for just a few years. By commercial standards, I would say that's almost unprecedented. 650. 650 women have been trained as Barefoot Solar Engineers, saving nearly 5 million liters of kerosene and affecting more than 350,000 people. Growth demands a temporary surrender of security. So here's where it gets interesting, because you can't grow that fast without having some pain points. Thanks to a grant we received from the Skoll Foundation here in California, of which we are an awardee, we received the possibility to participate in a design lab to talk about what were our growth issues that were going to happen to us as a result of all of this scale up and of this tremendous impact we were having. So we were invited for a week to spend time with people from Google and Microsoft, Tomorrow's Partners, Skoll Foundation, tech people, people from your world, different world than my world. And the first thing they did was want to discuss our pain points. The second thing they wanted to do was keep asking me all day how it felt. I've been living in Europe a really long time, so it's hard for me when someone starts to ask me how I feel. And I wanted to run for the door. I said, what am I doing here? We're a Gandhian organization, and we're talking about high technology in the same sentence. I felt like I was being irreverent. So every time I wanted to run for the door, every time it got more painful when they asked me more and more and more questions about what we were doing, I thought about my 650 women. These incredible women for whom risk had meant nothing when they put their hand in the air. And I thought about the journey they'd taken with me and with the college and with each and every trainer who spent time with them for 6 months and with all the other 39 or 40 women solar engineers who they spent those 6 months with. I had a responsibility to them. We had a responsibility to them. And we had a responsibility to further build their capacity. Not only to further build their capacity, but to keep igniting this learning process that we had exposed them to. So it wasn't good enough for us to be uncomfortable. We had to move forward. Some people would have thought, well, this ended in an easy solution. You just threw them a mobile phone. Well, that's not what happens, because have you tried to use a mobile phone if you can't read and write? It's not so easy. There are 875 million illiterate people in the world, and 80% of them are women, unfortunately for all of us. So our commitment to design had to go way beyond. We had to develop a tool for illiterate usage, and we had to develop a tool that was able to deliver literacy to these women. That's what grassroots, real commitment to development is about, following through to the end to maximize impact. So I give you our Barefoot technology, which is a very visual device, which has functionality about giving them their manual, their information, the various things that they need to do their job better, but also lets them communicate by visual recognition, face recognition, and by crossing language barriers. It also delivers a very comprehensive literacy tutorial, which is allowed to then be shared with other people in the village. The entire experience of the interaction of the development world and the tech world made me ask a lot of questions, questions I haven't fully answered yet, questions that sent me on a further learning journey. Questions about why, when the tech world is developing technology, they are not very often thinking about people whose quality of life will be directly augmented by very quick and easy access to technology. Technology in the developing world is something that happens by accident. It's overflow, very rarely designed specifically for the developing world. We spend $30 to $260 million to develop a video game to entertain our children. That same amount of money would cut the number of people without electricity in half. And I had trouble raising money to be able to fund a device that potentially 875 million people could use. When we talk about innovation, we can't simply talk about commercial innovation. We have to talk about innovation to augment humanity. We are all stakeholders in humanity. If we don't work together to collaborate, we won't end up with a generation that will be able to have the tools it needs to be able to work their way out of poverty and reverse the pyramid so that we are no longer talking about the largest growing section of the pyramid being those living on less than $1.25 a day. And most importantly, we need to put technology in the hands of women and girls in the developing world so that they can realize their full potential. as Gandhi very eloquently said, the future depends on what we do in the present. Thank you.